Thank you for having me. Um, and very excited to talk today about stablecoins, which are my favorite thing. I've been not sure who here loves stablecoins. Raise your hand. I can see you. No one. Wow. I mean, you must if you're coming to a Curve conference, right? All right. Well, just want to make sure you can hear me well before I start, but I think you can. So let's get started. So who am I? What do we do? Um, my name is Noor, and I'm the founder of Inverse Finance. We've been doing stablecoins for over 5 years now. And basically, what we do, our main focus is there are basically four products. They're all interconnected together. So the main one is DOLA stablecoin, which is a CDP stablecoin. And the second one is a firm, our fixed rate lending protocol, and DBR and Inverse DAO, which is the DAO that governs all of the three. So we're going to go through all of them, but basically we have this stack of lending slash stablecoin slash interest rate token interest rate, which is DBR here. And you can use all of these tools together to create some interesting strategies, which we're going to go through today. I think this is the first time that there's been this kind of material kind of given together where you can explore some of the most advanced strategies that some of the biggest whales, some of the biggest DAOs even are using these products to make or save millions on lending. So let's look at that. So what is DOLA? DOLA is first of all, is a crypto-collateralized stablecoin. So it's a kind of an RWA free stable. It's there's no like T-bills or anything. It's purely crypto-collateral. It's all backed by collateral on firm. So our lending protocol. It's like basically similar to DAI in its original form, and it's governed by Inverse DAO. So it's transparent on-chain governance. Also similar to originally also DAI, and still to a large extent make it out. And you would the main kind of differentiator here is fixed rate loans through our fixed rate market protocol called FiRM, and it's the only way in DeFi and even outside of DeFi where you would be able to get essentially a fixed rate loan for any duration. And this has been for the past 2 years been a very popular product among some DeFi founders, including one that you guys might be very familiar with called Mitch, and DAOs like TempleDAO, and many other kind of large borrowers who have found Firm to be a very useful tool in their tool belt, but they're very quiet about it usually because the lending capacity on Firm is very limited, and not a lot of people want to kind of borrowers on firm will bring a lot of competition. So I'm here to dilute their loan capacity. And the other differentiator is DBR, DOLA borrowing rate, which is a tokenized form of interest rate. And so we don't, as a DAO, unlike Maker now, we don't actually choose the interest rate or the borrow rate of loans on firm. The market decides it. And that is through DBR. So DBR is, the way it works is we got rid of an interest rate as a parameter, and then we replace. So as a borrower, you no longer pay any interest. You can borrow them for collateral, and then you borrow DOLA, and then replace that with a utility token called DBR, and then that represents your right to borrow. So in order to take a loan, you need to first have some DBR. And those DBRs are consumed over time. It's like I would say a consumable or a potion if you're into RPG games, for example. And it's a loan kind of consumable. And so we issue tokens equal to our borrowing capacity. So let's say we have 100 million loans that we can lend in terms of capacity. We issue 100 million DBRs per year. And the cost of that token represents your cost to borrow instead of interest. So I'm going to go through that very, very quickly. And we issue those tokens in auctions. So we sell them on the market continuously. Right now, it's being sold on the market as we speak. And we also give them as a supply rate to lenders. So in the form of a supply, which is called sDOLA. So you can deposit your DOLA in sDOLA, and then you get yield in the form of DBR. We're going to go through that right now in the form of one of the strategies. So let's go into a little bit of details of how DBR works. It's a little bit different, but it's not complicated at all. And one DBR represents 1 year of borrowing. So DOLA. So for example, if you're borrowing $1 for 12 months on firm, you will consume from your DBR balance 1 DBR for a year. So that means, it also means that if you're borrowing $2 for 6 months, you will also consume 1 DBR because you're borrowing twice the amount. So it's kind of pro rata. The burn rate of DBR in your balance is based on how much you're borrowing, and also goes the other way. So if you're borrowing, you don't have to borrow for a year, you can borrow for 6 months of $1, for example, and then you're borrowing just half a DBR. And so basically, you consume more or less DBRs depending on how many dollars you're borrowing. But once you bought those DBRs in the market initially, so you might have bought that DBR at 5 cents, and that's your cost of borrowing. You no longer have to pay anything. So you lock in for any duration, for 6 months, for 1 year, for 2 years, etc. This is only possible on firm. So firm is really taking on a monopoly on fixed rates so far in DeFi. There's really no competitor, and we'll see the results of that. And that little, like maybe temporary, who knows, monopoly, maybe that will change in the future. But yeah, so there are 3 cases of that tool. Well, first use case is fixed durations, obviously, fixed rate loans, obviously, for any duration. So you can borrow for 10 years, you can buy DBRs. You can basically buy 10,000 DBRs to borrow $1,000 for 10 years. And now you no longer have to pay anything anymore for that loan. You don't have to worry about DeFi rates fluctuating, etc. You can also buy those DBRs for future loans. So you can buy 10,000 DBRs, but you don't borrow anything on firm, and then you can use them later. So once you do need a loan in the future, right? And TempleDAO, for example, we'll go through examples of how that has happened in the past in ways that were very profitable. And you can also speculate on it, right? Like, you can basically buy a bunch of DBRs when they're low, and then once DeFi interest rates go up, DBR usually follows, and you can sell that at a profit. So you don't even have to borrow as a strategy. So let's look at that. So actually, the first strategy here we're going to go through is you can just buy it low, and this is one that actually I believe Mitch was the first to do this. Like in the very first kind of low here, 0.05 cents, that was when Mitch was kind of taking his first one, I think. And then there was an all-time high. So DBR went from 5 cents initially to 25 cents. So it's a 5x because borrow demand had gone crazy at that time. So you could simply just buy DBR, but somebody could have, and some people did buy DBR and sell it at a profit there, and then it went back down. Because DeFi rates went down to 5 cents again, and then it went back up to 20 cents. And now it's at 88 cents, so somewhere in the middle. But essentially, you probably want to keep an eye on DBR price, because sometimes there are opportunities, especially in bear markets, maybe especially in just low funding rate environments, low interest rate environments, etc. It's a really good tool to just bet on interest rates, and there's no tool like it in DeFi right now. So that's one strategy, just basically like time arbitrage, just buy low, sell high, obviously. That's very simple. But let's look at another strategy here. So there is this strategy by TempleDAO. So TempleDAO have been one of the biggest borrowers. And it's not just actually TempleDAO who's employed the strategy. There's also one of the DeFi's biggest whales called Green Fund, who was kind of competing with TempleDAO over their strategy in last December. So basically, they bought DBR at a very cheap price at 5 cents, and then that was when rates were low, and then they didn't sell it when the rates went to 20 cents. Like when DBR were 20 cents, they actually were using it, or they were burning it to borrow on firm. So everybody else was paying 20% borrow rates, and people on Aave were paying 20%, but Temple was just chilling, on 5 cents. That they fixed by just hoarding a bunch of DBRs with millions of dollars worth. Actually, I think it was each of them had $1 million worth of DBR. So Temple had $1 million, and Green Fund had $1 million. So not $1 million DBRs, but $1 million, which is a lot of millions of DBRs. And they were just basically paying 1/4 of the market rate, and it was very profitable because they could arbitrage that, so they could pay $5 to borrow, and then the APY on some of the yield opportunities in DeFi was a lot higher, so they made a profit just arbitraging the difference. So that's one strategy. Fixing your future loans, you don't have to have an opportunity right now. Just having DVR in your tool belt at a cheap price is a really good tool. And this is why I'm saying it's like a potion or a consumable with having a video game, where you don't necessarily buy it because you need it. You don't need it. You don't buy a health potion because you're low on health. You buy it for when you are low on health. And that's kind of the idea here. And the third strategy is combining it with Pendle. So Pendle gives you fixed yield, and FiRM allows you to borrow on a fixed rate. So basically, they're really good to kind of arbitrage those. You can essentially borrow on FiRM for a fixed rate, and then use Pendle collaterals, which are a fixed rate as well, and you can lock in a leverage yield opportunity. So you can kind of loop where both sides are a fixed rate. So you basically have your cost fixed and your revenue fixed. So basically guaranteed profit, of course, except for the potential like long-term risk, which is a completely different thing. But the idea is here you have Athena SUSDE locked for a few months. Now, actually, today we just launched the new maturities for this market. So on FiRM now they have the collaterals for Athena SUSDE to July and September, which you can put on FiRM as collateral, and then you can borrow for a fixed rate, and they give you a fixed yield. So that's also one of the strategies that was employed by TempleDAO and Green Fund. And there's a fourth strategy here, as I would say, sDOLA. And the reason sDOLA, you can look at this chart, which is really interesting. You can see sDOLA right now, this is from stableyields.info, sDOLA right now, sDOLA is a way to earn yield on DOLA, as simple as that. It's a risk-free kind of type, or as we call it, it's not really risk-free, obviously, but as in it doesn't do anything with your DOLA, it just gives you yield for holding it. Right now, as you can see on this chart, it's not really the highest yield right now in the APY column, but you can see on a 90-day average, it is the highest by far. So actually, it's over 8%, and the next one is 6.5 on average. So sDOLA has been delivering consistent APY that is at least 2 points higher than the next second best option. And the reason is because FiRM has this monopoly on fixed rate loans, it has been able to consistently kind of price them higher than market to borrowers. So borrowers have been paying 8%, for example, and when the market has been in Aave, maybe it was selling loans or basically charging 6 or 5, etc. So, and then it's kind of giving that back to DOLA holders through sDOLA. So people who stake in sDOLA, they actually get 1 DBR per year, as opposed to borrowers who pay 1 DBR per year. And then this 1 DBR is auctioned continuously for more DOLA. So this is why actually this system has been giving, basically it's real yield, if you will. It's not incentivized. There's no token, like governance token component to it. But it's been able to kind of deliver higher yields than the rest of DeFi, every single one, by a large margin, because of this kind of FiRM kind of premium or fixed rate premium. So you as a lender, if you don't care about all the strategies, you can just be the lending side of it and earn higher than market rates. And yeah, so just to end, basically, what's next for FiRM? So for FiRM, there's more collaterals that are coming. There's more PT collaterals, so better get a fixed rate opportunities, or PT as in Pendle, fixed rate collaterals. And then we're also working on a fixed income option for multi-year. So just like you can fix your borrow for like 10 years or 20 years or 50 years on FiRM, we're going to also do an option where you can fix your supply rate on it, like, for example, sDOLA for a few years. We're going to start maybe with a few years, so 2 to 3 years, with a fixed income kind of instrument, and then you're going to kind of make grow to 4 or 5 or more. So, and this will be the first of its type as well. Like right now on Pendle, you can have a fixed rate maybe for a few months or a year, but not for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And that's kind of what we're getting into. And this is also something that's only possible because of the DBR design, or the DBR kind of mechanism. And the last thing we're kind of working on, it actually just came out of the first audit this week, is what we call stablecoin-as-a-service, or Monolith. And Monolith is kind of our secret project that we've been kind of working on privately. And we will continue to working on it privately, actually, for some time, not a long time, but where it's basically a way for anybody to create their own stablecoin based on all the things that we've learned. It's like a turnkey stablecoin, permissionless deployment. So you don't have to reach out to any BD people or anything. You should go to like an app or a web app, and then you can just deploy your own stablecoin back your own by your own collateral, et cetera, et cetera. But it's really a very different design of a stablecoin that we kind of come up with over the past year and a half, and we're really excited to also share that. So we're kind of moving away a little bit from a stablecoin operator, which we are with DOLA, and we're moving a little bit to an infrastructure provider. And with that, that's basically all. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions or to reach out.